What is it with you? What do you got, a death wish or something?
That's what it takes. I just want to race.
All right, Diesel Heads, it's episode 36 of the Chronicles of Diesel, the only show that covers everything Vin Diesel, his movies, his games, his eventual music, and the theatrical release of Fast 10, aka Fast X. My name is Ethan, and with me here to... Oh, please don't tell me. You're not doing the Wakanda Forever, so that's fine.
No.
As white people, we can't do that. Devin's here, doing the X.
Nothing is impossible.
That's true.
That's the quote from the movie. No spoilers. We're not doing spoilers yet.
Right.
But I feel like that quote sums up
anything is possible.
Everything
is
honestly.
possible. And, no spoilers, but I'm really curious about what is possible for the next movie. So why don't we begin by discussing Fast X? Should we decide now, is it Fast X or Fast 10?
I mean, Fast X, I think, is cooler.
Sounds
personally.
better, but I've always been like a Roman numeral guy, so like I always want to say it's
Roman?
10. Exactly. That's the premiere was in Rome because of Roman Pierce. That was the reason, Vin Diesel. I don't think that was the reason. Dude is drunk out of his mind.
I love that clip. If you follow us on Twitter at Sonic Movie Show, we retweeted that tweet. They were tilted. I don't blame them. I would be too at an event like that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. We saw Fast X. I almost called it 10. We saw Fast X in theaters today, opening night. Well, for me, it was 2:45 on Thursday, the 18th.
Opening
it was 5:30
afternoon.
Yeah. So we saw it before the next day. Remember, Mario was like the movie that just actually had, like, right? Was it Mario? There was some
out
movie
on Wednesday for some reason,
or was
wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't remember. We saw it today, opening night. We're gonna get this episode up ASAP, so it should be before you see the movie. So if this is before you see the movie, and you want to know what we thought about the movie before you see it, we're gonna give you some spoiler-free thoughts on it. So not this, but this. All right. This is the small
X,
small time. So
small little X.
Overall,
wait, triple X. Like it's like a big X and two small X's.
Exactly. Big X in the middle. Like all these X's behind us. Exactly. Okay. I'm going to start. Now, Devin, it's very easy for me to watch a movie, play a video game, especially if it's within a franchise, if it's part of a series that I love. I am very prone, and I acknowledge this. It doesn't necessarily mean that I am aware of preventing it, but I acknowledge that it happens. So I often need to give myself, a break after I watch or consume, after I watch a movie, play a game, or something like this. But I'm very prone to walking away being like, that was the best one ever. That was the best Fast and Furious movie.
Right.
That was the best this, the best that. So I did it with this movie. I walk in, I'm like, best Fast and Furious movie. Best one. Easy. I need some time to really think, do I actually think that? Now, granted, we're going to rank it on the list together, so, we're going to put it in there where we feel like it is justified. But I really loved this movie. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, it's the Infinity War, and I will say this, no spoilers, but we knew going in that this was going to be the structure of, he's frozen on my end.
I'm frozen?
Yeah, you're frozen. Okay, now you're moving. Never mind.
Oh, there you go.
I was like, man, he's smiling and he's really still. He must really
I'm
like
just
and then I saw that he
shock.
wasn't moving.
I am in awe.
Okay.
I am just frozen like a statue.
Exactly. Frozen 2.
Frozen 2.
So we heard going in, this is part 1 of a 2-parter. Last VNN, we said maybe it's a 3-parter. Who knows? Right. We'll see it when we see it. I feel like he tries to manifest things by just saying them to the public. But it's very easy to have the part 1 have people walk away in theaters after seeing it for the first time not having seen the next one because it's not real yet, and being like, oh my god, that was amazing, so hype. Because guess what? This movie, Infinity War, Empire Strikes Back, any of these movies where like our heroes end in moments where like, you know, they needs to move on, like Empire, oh, everyone's scattered and Han Solo's frozen, and Infinity War and half of the people are snapped in Infinity War, and you know, this movie ends in a way which requires a second movie to kind of make up for it. The reason why we like to say those movies are really good is because they are really good. And it's because it's easier to make, in my opinion, than the follow-up, because they don't have to resolve anything in these movies, right? They don't have to have the culmination of a theme. We don't have to have, if there's a villain and a hero type of dynamic, the villains come up, it's due to something, you know, this overall thing of, oh, I was this as a child, I'm Darth Vader and my parents didn't love me, or I don't know, what, that type of shit. Like, they don't have to do that.
I hate sand.
They just get to throw Han Solo into carbonite, snap away half the universe, and we're all like, no! And we were like, that's awesome. So like, putting that into perspective, I still think it's a really good movie. I feel like they did a very smart thing, something smarter than they've done in the past two movies, by having, this is not spoilers, but having our entire cast of heroes not be all together all the damn time. And it gives them more screen time. Even though it probably doesn't, if we really were to do the math, it might not work out that way. But it feels like
that
it
way.
Because, oh, you know, Tej is standing behind two people in the scene in Fast 9, and he says something, sure, but that's different than him and Roman in this one scene in Fast 10 talking. You know what I mean? It feels a little bit different that way. I feel like everyone just did a really good job. I feel like, you know, no spoilers, Jason Momoa did a really good job. I think there was a couple points where I would have cut a line or a posturism, because I feel like it maybe went a little bit too far, or too much rather, when I feel like you having hints of that in some parts and a lot in others made it feel better, and but I feel like he did a really good job.
He was my favorite. I think he was my favorite character.
Yeah. Why don't you tell me what you thought of the movie?
Jason Momoa, I think, honestly, for me, he kind of like stole the show a little bit. Everyone else did a good job. I feel like he was great. He's a different villain for this series compared to the other ones. You know, you have a lot more of either they're part of some big system of crime operations, or they're the government, or whatever it was. It was just the police. If you're not including like the first one had more of like much lower stakes to that. But at least the last 6 have always been like either, you know, just like I said, this like they're a crime lord, or like they're involved in the government, or they just want world domination. Kind of just like almost like I don't want to say stereotypical, but just like kind of just your standard action movie villains. And then Momoa playing Dante, without any spoilers, he just brings it in a direction I wasn't expecting. Like, usually, like in the trailers, sometimes you can get a general vibe, but it was a lot more in one direction that I just really enjoyed, that I was not expecting, and it feels really fresh for this series. Because as much as we love the soap opera-ness of these movies, I think it needed a little bit of this kind of energy. And I don't know, I just came away from the theater being like, wow, he's cool, I like him, and he just kind of like didn't go to the expectations I was expecting. And yeah, big fan of his acting as Dante. But yeah, overall, like, I was telling you, like, before we got on, that I'm like, yeah, I got in the car, didn't realize I had to pee. Like, the adrenaline was, like, going through me. I was fucking hyped. And once we get into spoilers, we can talk about more of, like, there was a couple reasons why I was hyped. I was like, I realized, like, going into this movie, too, that, like, I was much more hyped for this than, like, Guardians. And I like Guardians a lot. We ranked them pretty high on our list. All 3 of them.
They are the first 3 on the movie ranking list.
But so I'm going to this, I'm like, this is this is my superheroes in a way because it's so goofy. We've done this podcast together, like watching all these movies twice, and after original reason we even started this show was because of the Fast and Furious movies and kind of finding the charm in them, finding the charm in Vin Diesel. But yeah, everyone just did a great job. I will say like it. I think the first part for me, like the first half of the movie, was a little bit slow, or just kind of just didn't know where it was going. Like it kind of felt a little discombobulated a little bit, however you say that word. But then the second half, like it kind of all gelled back together a little bit, and it just is nonstop. And I think that really makes it a really fun movie. And I'll say this too: if you don't like Fast and Furious, you think it's dumb or whatever, that's fair. That's your opinion. We like it because of its goofiness, its campiness, its soap opera with cars.
It's earnest. You know what I mean? It's earnest in what it's doing. Yeah.
But if you don't like it, you're not going to like this movie. So if you're thinking it's going to be if you're going into this thinking it's going to be something else, then you're not going to like it, or you'll think it's stupid, whatever. But like if you embrace these movies and you know all the lore, if you've seen even the short film Los Bandoleros, that kind of stuff, where like I just feel like it just pays off so much in this, and it's just, I don't know, it just I was like fist bumping the air many times in this film. I'm like, fuck yeah, hell yeah.
The guy sitting behind you is like, put your fucking hand down.
Yeah. I mean, like, and I came out of the theater just like more hyped than I was going in. So I just take that as it is.
Nice. Well, I think we both recommend this movie. I feel like if you have not yet seen the movie, stop now. We're going to go into spoilers. We're going to talk about everything that we liked about the movie, maybe some things that we didn't like. So I want to, in the meantime, cheers to
I was going to say, ain't the Corona cold, brother?
I know. It's very cold.
Ain't the Corona cold. Look at this. You can't see it, but there's the moisture coming out of it.
Sure.
It's cold. Real cold.
It's the same bottles I've had since last episode.
Same.
2 weeks ago.
It even tastes better now. Isn't that weird? Like I usually didn't like most of the Coronas I've been drinking for this show.
Well, you drink something long enough, and you eventually are like, okay, I'm fine with this.
I'm just saying, the movie. I'm a Corona fan now. I'm convinced. I had to see Fast X, and now I'm a Corona
fan.
The
club. They did drink Coronas in the barbecue scene. A lot of them had their. That was like this
I
part,
think they were trying to. I don't know if it was.
But then in some other scenes, no, they definitely had like the bottle, like the label.
I think they were trying to like low key, like it's not. I think maybe in the other movies, Corona maybe like paid money, or like they did. I think
famously
sort of deal.
They never did, right? At least in the early ones, and then it was just that's because what Vin Diesel drinks.
Sometimes it felt way too on the nose that it made me think that like, okay, they get paid $100,000 or whatever to be in this, or vice versa. However it works, however brands go in movies. But yeah, there was definitely that scene, and it's not really a spoiler because it's in the trailer. But yeah, they're like. The way they're holding it seemed like they're trying to cover it up, but also kind of like these are Coronas, brother. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's ain't anything else.
So let's talk spoilers on Fast X. I will begin with something that was already spoiled to me before seeing the movie. And I texted you, do you want to know this piece? Because you probably will see tweets of it. And maybe you interact with Twitter differently than I when it comes to this stuff, where I just don't do any of the mutings of hashtags or anything like that. So I had the spoiler of the mid-credit scene already told me that The Rock is indeed coming back. And so, yeah. I mean,
that was that's the main reason I'm fucking hyped. We didn't do BNN at the start because the BNN breaking news would be the beef is over. I can't tell you how fucking hyped I am.
We don't know if it's over. It might be like, here's 30 million. Please be in the movie.
Who cares? That's beef. So if it was really that bad of beef, no money would have made you come back.
Yeah. I mean, Black Adam didn't do.
And I will say this: I did see some hints. I had some. I didn't see anything on Twitter, and I didn't do any like muted words or anything. I guess avoided it somehow. But I did see on Instagram that like Vin Diesel liked a couple of The Rock's posts, and I'm like, what's this boy doing? I'm like, what's going on here? So I had some theories, but I'm like, maybe this has been, I don't know, just really just liked the post because he was doing like The Rock did a video about like one of the XFL coaches that had a quote and he was talking about it. And it wasn't like he was posting anything. And I saw John Cena like posted some like photos from old Fast movies, Fast and Furious movies, but I didn't, but I was like, I'm gonna let the movie play. And I remember even us talking about it like maybe a year ago, wherever we did it multiple times, that were like, one of the reasons we rated Fast 8 lower than it probably should have, was because of the beef that Vin Diesel seems to have started. So I think whenever we rank this, we gotta like pull that chunk that was removed from F8 and add it to this and be like, he unresolved it to some degree, that to enough that The Rock is coming back. We thought that would never happen. Let's be real. We didn't. I think we talked about it a couple like episodes ago or a year ago when we were talking about this. We're like, will The Rock be in this, in the Fast and Furious movies in general at all? Maybe a cameo at best. But I still felt like both of us were like, nah, there's no shot. It seems like the beef is pretty personal, especially when the Instagram drama came up last year around this time.
Yeah.
And I remember I had that theory on VNN. I said, I don't remember if it was in that episode or not, or maybe an episode afterwards, but I remember saying that, like, what if this is some like crazy like PR thing where they're like, oh, we don't want people to even guess that he was in it. But I don't think so. I don't think so. It was
either.
I think some stuff was squashed behind the scenes, or maybe it's money, maybe it's a mix of both. I mean, he's gonna get paid, obviously,
right?
In it, but it is only just a small end credit thing. But it makes me think he's gonna be in it in the next one.
It's funny too. You almost need to know that he and Vin Diesel had an issue in order to really be like, oh my god, he's gonna be in the next one, because he only missed one movie. You know what I mean?
Right. It doesn't feel like he's been gone, but for us it does.
Yeah.
I feel like we were never getting him back. It sucked because like F8 was like, he was at the barbecue, right? I think that's how it ended, and then like that was kind of it, and they just never talk about him again. Then there was Hobbs and Shaw, but
yeah, and that ends with him and Jason Statham, getting there's more things happening in that universe that they need to do. And so I am curious if that's still going to continue or not. Money on the table says yes, it will. I think obviously they want to really market Fast and Furious X and 11 and 12. If there is a 12, who knows? Maybe it's something where like maybe 11 doesn't come out right away, but then Jason Statham was in this movie, and so he's not necessarily like in a way where he can pretend that this scenario is not happening and go do stuff with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So who knows? But yeah, him being in it, I'm like, I knew, but like part of me was also like, well, maybe what if it's not true? So when that credit starts, and like you see all these swap people or whatever, and then I
saw this big dude. I'm like, don't you dare.
Big dude, and he's moving a little bit too main character like, you know what I mean? And like, I could just tell, obviously. So
I still got. I was saying out loud, and I don't normally talk during a movie or whatever, and I'm just like, don't do it. I'm like, is the beef gone? I literally said out loud, is the beef gone? Is the beef gone? And then he takes off I'm like, let's go. I'm telling you, that's the reason I didn't realize I had to pee, because the adrenaline was kicking in. The Rock gave me goosebumps. He told me to eat my damn veggies. Show him the damn veggies. You know what I mean?
Oh my god, that was so perfect back in the day. He needs to bring that back. Well, we're on the topic of the end of the movie. We'll talk about beginning.
I'm just saying, like, I think that's the big thing, just because like the beef is in some form or fashion, at least suppressed, maybe over. I hope it's over. I mean, I saw that The Rock follows Vin Diesel on Instagram. He wasn't before. I know that for a fact. During Beefgate, I remember The Rock was not following Vin. So they might have been good. Maybe they just needed Christmas. They just needed to come together. Maybe
they just needed Christmas. Yeah.
Maybe Vin was like, while writing the script, he's like, if The Rock is part of my family, I gotta admit I'm wrong. Like in this movie when I think multiple people I think like realize maybe they've messed up at points or had conflicts with one another. There's moments when there is like internal fighting. But we'll get into that. I know we probably won't do like our normal like breakdown, probably because we couldn't take notes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
Same thing with
I
same
like
thing
I
with
like what we did
Guardians.
last time with Guardians, where it's going to be kind of what did we love, like there's
Yeah.
things we didn't like, whatever.
So I wanted to talk about the ending. So what I was saying before, like, you know, keeping up on the ending, and then we'll go back to like the beginning and talk about stuff that we liked and loved. The other big thing is Gal Gadot is back. Giselle is back.
which we were
as
kind of
Giselle.
hinted at potentially.
We
I
just
think like a year
assumed.
ago.
Yeah, but like
She
and
didn't. They pulled her off the runway. They scraped her off with a shovel, and they
Yeah.
put her in a
Listen,
freaking
if they're gonna bring
cryo
Han
chamber or
back
whatever
to
it's called.
life, then she had an even easier death than him. Like, I'm not convinced that anyone that died. There's people that died, and there's people that
Quote unquote.
died. You know what I mean?
I was
We'll
telling
talk
Bryn
about all
in the
that,
car
but-
ride back here. I was like, no one. I don't believe anyone's dead in Fast and Furious unless they're bleeding out in front of you and they show them that they're dead, like
Yeah.
visibly
Yeah.
on screen.
That being said,
one's
I
dead.
do think that Jacob is dead. I feel like he sacrificed himself. He wasn't in it for that in the franchise for that long. Just 2 movies.
It sucks because I
If
feel
they
like he
wanna
finally
make-
got a little bit more depth in this film, and
Yeah.
they actually let him just be John Cena, which I'm not opposed to because in the first in F9 he's like kind of just serious the whole time and like
Right.
I'm mad. In this one he's like the cool
mad.
uncle,
Yeah.
cool uncle, and the whole like airplane thing when they drop down. I'm like, that is peak Fast and Furious. Somehow like all the other stuff like it's crazy, but I'm like, that is just extra crazy to me. Like this dude packed somehow went through TSA and everything.
With what you thought was a kayak. And
Yeah.
it isn't.
It's a goddamn
It's a
airship.
weird, like, little mini Cessna. Like this little tiny plane thing.
But yeah,
Yeah, he was great in the movie. I feel like I said, you know, non-spoiler area, I feel like everyone was good in this movie. I was not disappointed in anyone. I was surprised at the direction of Charlize Theron's character, Cypher. Number one,
Yeah.
she rolls up in what I didn't realize was a thing, but a DeLorean that's modern. Like, granted, it's a supercar. None of us will own a car
custom.
of that
It's
price
custom.
range. It's some sort of DeLorean supercar.
there's
but
10
like,
made, I'm sure.
They
Whatever.
exist still, so like that's cool. I was not expecting her to be like essentially not in any form of villainous role in this movie at all.
That we
Like,
know of.
I mean, sure, but as far as this movie is concerned, she's not. Right?
Right.
Like, yeah,
And
sure.
so
11 can
that was a
retcon
big
that.
question, and that was a big question we had going into this movie was like, is she gonna like be involved with Dante? Like,
Right.
is she gonna be controlling him behind the scenes? Is he gonna be the main villain? But she's kind of like F9 was, where she was in that box the whole time, literally, until the very end, where she's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I actually played everybody."
Yeah.
So I was expecting that, and I was gonna be kind of bummed if that happens. So I'm just kind of, that's my one, I guess, critique of this movie that I didn't really like, was that she kind of just hasn't had her moment yet, where she keeps having moments, but not having her like, I am the main villain, I'm the one you should be concerned with, I'm the one. It doesn't feel like that. I just feel like she's been kind of like shuffled around a couple
Yeah,
times
well,
of her allegiances.
She'll probably be the final villain. Like, granted, yes, we somehow, for some reason, redeemed Jason Statham. Maybe it's because Han
she literally
lives,
killed.
but she killed his baby mama right in front of him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And we know she's
mother
dead.
of his child. Yes, we know she's dead.
If she
I would
comes
be-
back, then then
That'd be
there's
taking
some
it too
bullshit.
far.
That'd be
Like,
taking
I'm
it too
glad
far,
Han is
yeah.
back, and hey, Han had things to do in this movie. It felt like way more than
Yeah,
F9
I
did.
actually
That
really
was a
liked Han in
movie-
this. Yeah,
Yeah,
I liked
There's
his
no-
Alfa Romeo in Italy. That was hot.
There was no talk about the somewhat daughter that he was raising. You know what I mean? His surrogate daughter. There was no talk about that at all, which was interesting. But I mean, there was a talk a little bit about fatherhood with him. So like maybe there was a little that the intention was he would have an understanding there because he did raise a kid longer than Vin Diesel did, I believe. And yeah, we have little B. I feel like he did good. I was surprised. Now, F9's little B was the most philosophical motherfucker on the planet in terms
Yeah,
of
they
his
toned it back here.
brain
They made him more of a
size.
they made him more of a kid in this movie, and
Yeah.
like he has his moments where he's like they're showing he's a smart kid, but it's much more believable in this than him having the perfect line. I think he said something where like he executed the lines too well in the last movie,
Yeah.
where it was like, no, a kid doesn't talk like that. That's like they read off the script too well,
Yeah,
yeah. But no, he was great. I liked him.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone was good. I was surprised that Jordana Brewster isn't in the movie much, considering how that was one of the reasons why Justin Lin and Vin Diesel had a fight. So we are told is that Jordana Brewster wasn't supposed to be in the movie because it doesn't really make sense to keep having her in these movies.
Well, he was still credited on the screenplay. I don't know if you saw that in the credits.
I didn't know.
So maybe like they were because he left like right when filming began, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was extremely early.
So it's probably at the
extremely
point where you
early.
can't really change too much,
Yeah,
So
no, they
maybe
were
she'll be in
filming
it more.
at that time. Yeah,
She'll be
so
in it
like
more
I
in a
wonder.
second,
I mean,
but
movies. I'm just going to say most movies, but I really
movies,
should just say movies
films.
in general. And movies aren't filmed in the order of the screenplay, right? They take all the
Right.
scenes in one location and then they film them all there, and then they go to another location and then they film them all. You know what I mean? Just it makes economical sense for them to do that, right? So maybe all that stuff at the beginning was filmed way later. You know what I mean? In the
Yeah.
production of the movie. But yeah, I think Cypher. So like, our structure of our movie essentially is, as I kind of alluded to, we have our cast broken up and split and separated. They are basically all together at the beginning, and then they are all taken away. We have obviously Vin Diesel's pretty much on his own for a lot, doing his stuff. But then we have Rome, Tej, Ramsey, and Han as one.
I like their
quadrio.
group.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it doesn't feel like they have been together in other movies, like in one scene together. But for some reason, this felt a little bit different. I think it's the addition of Han and actually him doing stuff, like you said.
Yeah.
Because in F9, he kind of just shows up and then like isn't
He's
really
just
part of the
there.
plot.
It's weird.
He's just kind of there.
Yeah.
This actually felt like no, he has. He helps them, find Jason Statham. He helps him find Shaw.
Yep.
And I liked also, can we talk about that Pete Davidson was in this fucking movie?
Yeah.
Out of all
Yeah.
the cameos, I was not this whatever Pete's doing the last couple of years, he's been pulling all the strings, getting all his name everywhere. He's been doing so many like random cameos. He's getting the bag for sure.
And because
So,
he was in this
props to
movie,
him.
guarantee Kanye now hates Vin Diesel and all of them. because Pete Davidson was in this movie.
You think Kanye went to the showing and he's like, "Fuck!" He got walked out of the theater.
Just
But when he
throws
pops
a
up,
beer at the TV.
he's like,
at the
"Oh,
screen.
I love where this is going. Oh, I wonder who they're gonna meet." Fuck!
He
Are you kidding?
probably legitimately hates Tyrese Gibson. You know what I mean? I can see Kanye just not liking certain.
I think Kanye.
certain artists.
No, I think Kanye. Well, I'm not gonna talk about fucking Kanye. I was gonna say he seems like the guy. Like he said, he sees good in all people or whatever. I think to that degree,
Sure.
including Hitler. So
He
Yeah,
had
his-
this random realization that the Jews aren't as bad. And
yeah, because
now
he
that
watched the
makes him
Jonah Hill
okay.
movie or whatever.
Oh
right?
my god,
Yeah.
that's right. He's dude.
But
I
maybe,
almost don't want
but then
to
he watched
accept
this
that.
movie and he got mad again. Maybe potentially.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, skeet.
I wish he had a Taco Bell bag or something on his desk
Those
because he keeps
commercials were
doing.
weird. I don't like.
He's done a
those.
lot of Taco Bell commercials, so like I think that just been kind of funny. That like no, this is actually just Pete Davidson. This isn't a new character for Fast and Furious. It's Pete Davidson who works in like an internet cafe. Is that what kind of that's supposed to be? Some like old school like
a
meetup
very hipster
place?
one, I guess, because they literally play dial-up sound effects to really dial, and like you literally hear "You got mail." Like those services aren't running, so someone just has that sound bite playing. You know what I mean? Yeah, and
I would
was
check
a-
it out if I was in that
Sure.
area, but
I would walk into the black market and try to buy, stuff off Silk Road or whatever.
I did like when Tyrese was like kept licking his fingers to like pull out the $100 bills, and he was being real cheap about it though at the same time.
Yeah, we're going to a dude that deals in the black market stuff to buy weapons and vehicles, and he attempts to buy it with $100 bill, just one.
Yeah,
and then a second one. Like, buddy, I have a feeling, just throwing this out there, everything he had on his body probably wasn't enough for what they might.
Yeah, if they were all $100 bills, yeah, like maybe you get
like,
maybe a nice car, like one.
Right, because it's not just what the value.
And you're only
of the
putting a down
are.
payment. You're only putting a down payment. You're definitely still taking.
You're gonna, yeah.
You're paying at least 4 years on it.
Because like there's a secrecy thing there. You know what I mean? Like they could just call the cops and be like, the black market's here, in your hometown in London. It's Skeet Davidson.
Skeet Davidson's black market.
Exactly. That's what it says on the. Oh, I thought that was a weird hipster coffee shop name. No, it's the black market. Yeah, I thought that was funny. I did find it a little bit weird that, and not totally weird because they definitely did circle back to it a little bit, but like Rome and Tej having a literal fight felt okay then, usually... but then they didn't really follow with that until it gets resolved by Tej saying, you are a leader because you're taking responsibility. You actually feel like you're responsible.
Yeah, I think a scene is missing there. Maybe there's something cut, but
maybe there is something cut because F9 had cut scenes in which these side characters talked to each other. You know what I mean? So maybe there's cut stuff.
Yeah, maybe they felt it was not good enough, but just it got the job done. I mean, I don't really care too much about it. But yeah, they fought. I mean, this is the first time, like, they've always dunked on each other. Usually Roman's the one that kind of gets more dunked on, I think, than anybody in the group.
Which is a little unfair.
Yeah. And I feel like that's what I thought they were going to do with this movie. I'm like, oh, is he finally just going to like have enough? Like, this is part of the whole like family thing of Dom's on by his own. Like, what can he do without his family? You know, I think that was one thing in this movie. But I also felt there was brief moments where other characters are like, yeah, I made mistakes, or who do I choose in my family? Like, that was the big thing that Dante kept saying, like, who are you going to choose to save? But like, everyone has moments of that. A lot of the characters have moments of that. Maybe not as major, but of, you know, trusting one another, or like, hey, I messed up. This is all my fault. And like, you know, helping them, like we saw later on where they like kind of made up there. But yeah, they actually fought. This is the first time where I'm like, yeah, you can tell it was getting personal, which I think props to them acting, where like they usually like dunk on Roman, but this time it felt like extra because they were, you know, desperate. You know, they have no money. They're kind of just relying on who they know, you know. But then Han did have the laced of some sort of drug,
which didn't have any repercussions. Like, I was expecting that to somehow impair him a little bit.
For the rest of the film or
something.
Just
bring that filter back on for another scene of his
where he's fighting somebody. Yeah, just as a quick... That would have been a funny joke where, like, you know, like 30 minutes later when they're fighting the cops or whatever, when they show up at Shaw's place, that like it pans to him, or like it just cuts to him just for that one part, and he's like punching someone and their face is all goofy or something. Like, just to be like, oh, he's still... Or when he's fighting Shaw, like that would have been really funny that he's still a little bit trippy.
Yeah, so that was weird. But hey, they did stuff. We have Michelle Rodriguez, aka Letty Ortiz, with the Cypher in Antarctica, which was a fun reveal that it was Antarctica, but they're basically in a black prison agency.
Do you think the government has, like, U.S. government specifically, do you think there's sites like this exist? I mean, I know we have Guantanamo and all that, but I'm saying like a one that like no one knows about unless you're like high up.
Here's the thing. I feel like we always have, not maybe you and I, but like we as a collective on the internet always have this conversation when it comes to aliens. Oh, have there been aliens here for a while, like years now? And the answer is no, because if there were, the government would not be able to keep its shit together to keep that shit a secret. I think the same thing comes to with this type of stuff. Because here's the thing. The entire world, as much as some QAnon people would want to believe, that's how I want to pronounce it now.
QAnon.
As much as these people would want you to believe, the world is not a monolithic, superpower Illuminati force, right? And it's not as simple as that. It's a much more deeper, complex web of other countries. And guess what? It's just talking about Antarctica here. There's a lot of them that are closer to Antarctica than the United States. And all it takes is for them to find an abnormal reading. I don't know why I'm pretending to look at a watch to see seismic changes. But like, all it takes is, South Korea's like, wait a second. All this radioactivity is not coming from north of us. It's coming from south. And then you have someone from Australia or Indonesia being like, what's going on down south in Antarctica? All it takes is something outside the U.S. to see that.
I mean, that's why we know about places like Guantanamo. You know what I mean? And like that they exist because of like whistleblowers. So yeah, I agree. But like part of me, there's like maybe just one out there.
Part of you wants to
maybe not in Antarctica, but like on some, I'm sure there's like some place in the middle of like the Pacific Ocean that we built during World War II or some shit that like
maybe
10
but I
people
feel
know
like
about.
in the middle
and
of
it
the
has
ocean,
like one really bad dude there.
Satellites catch that shit though. That's why it's
I
tough.
think I've read somewhere that they've discovered islands before, like recently, like really small ones.
But like you have to fly to get there, or I guess you take a boat, which I feel like is less sneaky than a helicopter or a plane.
I don't know.
I feel like that shit gets caught. I don't know, but whatever. Regardless, there is one in Antarctica. Not that we know this yet, and we have Michelle Rodriguez and Charlize Theron.
What did they put
fight
in
each
her?
other.
I was confused by like because Brie Larson, I forget, was in this.
Right?
She's
Yep.
Has
and a
parts
role
in it,
that
like,
I feel like is so obvious, yet we just didn't think of it. You know what I mean? That she's Mr. Nobody's daughter. Now, granted, they didn't set that up that way in previous movies that he had family, but as this movie wants to tell us, the family keeps getting bigger. You know what I mean? People have sisters we didn't know. People had daughters we didn't know about. You know what I mean?
cousins, whatever.
People had kayaking hobbies we didn't know about. But I think to answer
because she gets stabbed, was that just to get her to the
so
facility?
like Brie Larson comes in, basically shows, which is so dumb because it's caught on camera and she would know that. Shows the pendant that Dom has basically given to everyone at this point. It always comes back to him.
If you're a real one, you got one.
Yeah. And yeah, she basically she stabs. What's weird is that obviously the point is to have them take her away. And yeah, put her in the thing for her to do that with. And she stabbed her just with a knife. She didn't inject her with anything like that. And then whipped her around to make it look like she was being attacked by Letty, obviously. But then if we think about the follow-up to that, she's getting laser surgery, and then just there happens to be Cypher on the other table also getting surgery at the same time.
I thought there was some weird like face-off shit about to go down. I'm like, this is movie about to be wild, and they're like
that's what trailers kind of made
or
us
Freaky
think.
Friday or something like that, where they're switching bodies or something. I don't, you know what I mean?
Maybe they did.
Or X-Men, like they're just doing some weird scientific shit. But like, yeah, I think they were just healing her with the lasers.
They gave her adamantium bones.
That was supposed to be the end credit scene, but there was none. Was that she realizes she has claws?
Right.
But yeah, I think they lasered her up, and then I'm more confused of like why they're there, but whatever, it's cool.
I want to know what Brie Larson. Sorry, her name was Tess. Thinking ahead, or was it just like, I know this is the first step she needs, she can take it from here? Because I don't think she was betting on Cypher also being there. I don't think she would have aligned herself with Cypher in any manner. You know what I mean? So, But
unless Cypher, like we know, is capable of doing 4D chess, so maybe she knew that she'd wind up there, and then she'd use Letty to get out, and then she knew that, she can get to the... Is that the same sub from F8, I'm assuming?
Probably. This movie does a lot of call-outs to previous movies and things. We have our Los Bandoleros Forever moment, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Which was not even a movie, that was the
See, I looked around theater, I'm like, I know that one. I saw that. Did you see that? Fake fan.
Now, was it a bit of a stress to make something that tied to that?
Yeah.
But,
but the real one's
what
no. We
The real ones know. We know. Listeners, you out there, you knew because you listened to 36 episodes of the show with us, plus a few bonus ones, you know.
Yeah.
This is our 40th upload of Chronicles of Diesel. Man, and it's been a ride. It's been 3 years. It's been 3 years.
Yeah.
Because think about it. Our first episode was in April.
March or April? Yeah.
Something like that. And now we've
Bloodshot
come 3
was
years.
March because that's when COVID
Wait, this
hit
is
the United States.
if this is episode 36 and we've done no wait, it's not once a month anymore. Never mind. I was gonna be like, it's been
complicated.
yeah. Yeah, which is crazy. So we have the first crew. We have the Michelle Rodriguez's character Letty Ortiz with Cypher. We also have Dom. Maybe we'll save Dom for
Toretto.
last. Dominic Toretto. Let's talk about Jacob Toretto and Brian Toretto basically going on a little road trip for the whole goddamn movie.
Yeah, they go all the way to. So it's funny that they made their secret rendezvous point in Nevada because the Hoover Dam there is in Nevada. That's like 35 minutes from Las Vegas. I was kind of bummed that there's not a Las Vegas scene though because it's like right there. I
Might
feel
have
like that
been
was a
too
missed
expensive.
opportunity. Yeah,
Maybe.
And I've like driven on those highways. Like I didn't go to the Hoover Dam, but I've driven like I've seen it from a distance, if I remember correctly. So like it was kind of cool to see them drive through there, and I'm like, hey, I know that area. But I kind of wish they just like drove by a sign and like there was a joke or something, being like, oh, we should have. Are we gonna go to Las Vegas? Nope, that is not the rendezvous point. So something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't mind like a movie like this that has multiple characters and basically as if they're in their own movies. It feels like, you know, doing things, which I don't say that as a negative. I'm okay with this, you know, pair of characters not having too much to do, where we're just seeing more of the characterization of the two of them bond a little bit more. We don't really know how much Jacob has been in Brian's life, but there has been a time gap, so we know like it was possible and probable that he had
he
shown
knew who
up.
he was, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like maybe he visited for Christmas or Thanksgiving a couple times,
Yeah.
you know. Which
And,
is
like,
cool
he's
that
trying.
they made it seem that Jacob wasn't just after F9, that he didn't just like dip and then just never speak to them again. So it's
Because
kind of
that
cool.
movie set it up like it was probably going to be like,
I was shocked he was even in this movie. Like when we saw the trailers, I'm like, oh hell yeah, because
yeah,
John Cena fan for sure. So
for sure.
kind of sucks he died. Maybe
Here's my thing.
I think he did die.
I
I
feel
agree
like he
with
definitely
you, but
died.
like,
I don't think that Tej and Roman and Han and Ramsey died. I doubt that for a damn second.
they got out.
There's no
They got
way
in
they
the
died.
car. They were near the car. They jumped out of the car last second somewhere. They're probably the ones who are going to save them. That'd be my guess, by the way, for the next movie when the Hoover Dam blows
Yeah.
up and
we'll
floods,
talk about
like,
that. We'll talk about
all
that.
of Vegas. Maybe that's what they're saving Vegas for. Maybe we'll get a Vegas scene
Yeah.
then.
We'll talk about that. Let's still keep on the Jacob and Brian thing. I liked that there was the we're kind of characterizing Brian a little. They keep calling him Little B because I don't feel like if they say Brian, they make you think
Little B
Paul
base
Walker.
god.
Exactly. Oh my god, yeah, you're right. I'm just gonna call him Brian Toretto. So Little B, I'm gonna immediately just start calling him Little B. They're characterizing him as is obviously a kid that's learning, but he doesn't quite have it yet. He is self-conscious. He's still learning, etc. And then we see that with him and his father, Dominic Toretto, aka Big D. Little B.
AKA Big D.
We have all that stuff in the beginning, and then with Jacob, we're seeing him like he's no longer being raised by a parent. He's with the fun uncle, so to speak. So when moments of that pop up, he can approach it a little bit more on his
Big
own
J.
without having stop. Go away. Shut up. I'm trying to be serious here. He can approach these parts of insecurities about him a little bit without any of the dad's over my shoulder and he's watching me. Should I? And like that type of nervousness that can happen. And it's cool that Jacob plays off a little bit leans into it a little bit. You know what I mean? It's funny for him to be like, "Oh, you get nervous of flights. It's not the height, is it?" And then like we know why is because they were gonna just drop out of the plane. Like it better not be because of the height. We're gonna have.
I
a
liked
problem
that
if it's 'cause of the
foreshadowing
height.
for sure.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
especially in this universe where I'm like, yeah, they're gonna jump off this plane, aren't they? And I was not expecting the kayak turned plane though. I was expecting parachutes or hang gliding or whatever the fuck. I don't know. But,
yeah, whatever that. It clearly had some propulsion because there was that science lesson that he gives to little B. You know, what do you need? You need fuel, and that's why I got 3 little bottles of Smirnoff. And I liked that too. That like little B's thinking he's not an age. He doesn't just go, oh okay. Like no, he goes and he tries to raid the wine, but it's rosé and it's not high enough proof for fuel. Right? It's wine.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like he's not an idiot. And even like back when, you know, he's in the car at the beginning, he knows what to do, but he needs something there to kind of hitch him through that.
Can we briefly talk about that? They had Jacob had a Kmart top 10 hits on cassette there.
Oh yeah. And his
For people
car
who don't
that
know,
he
Ethan and I did a brief stint of Kmart.
Mine was not
back
brief.
in the day.
Yours and I's together was brief, but
Was
mine
brief.
was not brief. I was there for
but there
a
was
damn year.
the radio that they'd play, or over the PA, they played all the '90s pop hits that you could think of, and every time I hear any of them now, I'm just like, Kmart soundtrack, and they got it.
Yeah.
Some bangers.
Yeah. I almost stole from that Kmart. You know this, but the audience doesn't. I worked in the electronics area as the layaway guy, and the TVs at some point never got an updated disc to play the advertisements and commercials and trailers. So movies that were already on video still had coming soon to theaters trailers in them, and it was all on this Blu-ray. And which the quality of it from being played nonstop, 18 hours a day, every day of the week for a year, it was getting pretty poor. And I tried to steal that, but then I forgot that I had hid it away, and I'm still so pissed. Not that it would have had any like value to me besides the fact that I did it. You know what I mean? Because we would have, as a joke, played it. We would have. So at some get
point.
Together, we would have put it on. Hey, want to watch a movie? It'd be real great. It'd be real great.
Yeah.
We'd
tell David or something, our friend of the show, David. We'd sit him down and be like, oh, we're going to watch the new, I don't know, Marvel movie, whatever the fuck, right? And then we would just put that on.
Yeah. It said like Q3 2015 on it, I think. Because it was the fault, whatever. Yeah, Jacob's driving a car. And I like that they go outside and to go to the car, and then little B's like, oh my god, Mr. J, and her in his best, Joker, what's her name? Harley Quinn impression, Mr. J. Oh, he's like, oh, Mr. J, it's this giant truck where he's like, no, it's this little piece of shit car with a kayak on his mind. And that guy laughs in the audience of 6 people at my showing. So it was a good joke. But I liked that. But then it feels weird that he abandons that car at the airport. Full of spy equipment. There are spy equipments in the back seat, in the trunk of that car.
There was, wasn't there a gun? I'm sure.
There was a passport making machine. You know what I mean? Like he had it all in there. So
which is that's a bad place to have it at an airport. Would be like, wait a minute.
Who was driving this car? Oh, John Cena. Weird how he didn't call himself John Cena. And who was this little kid he had with him? And who let him check in the kayak? But yeah, no, I thought it was great. And we get to see a little bit about Jacob's HQ that he had hidden out in, I guess, Nevada, right?
Or Southern California. Somewhere. It's nearby. Somewhere. I mean, Nevada is close enough to like LA, so it kind of makes sense. It's not too far. But...
Yeah. And then finally, so we have some cameos of other people. We have Helen Mirren pops in, as the Shaw mom. We have I forget what the actress's name, but Dom's grandmother, which is little B's great grandmother. At the beginning, I feel like we didn't really need to have her in the movie. You know, I don't feel like we needed.
It's just some world building. You know,
it's honestly, yeah, that's really all that it ever will amount to. Is just like,
they never talk about the mom, so like, okay, well,
that's not
she's
Dom's
alive.
mom. That's Dom's grandma. That's his father's mom.
So where's mom?
I don't know.
Do they say that in F9? Maybe they.
It probably was like in F1, in Fast and the Furious, because
not Fast and Furious.
No, but the Fast and the Furious. Dominic is talking to Brian in the garage, talking about his car, and me and my dad built it. I listened to parts of that movie often to make a sound clip get together thing, and it probably in there somewhere he says, "Oh, after mom died," type of thing. I bet that was when they were kids.
You know what's funny? Like, thinking about the Fast and the Furious, that was supposed to be a standalone movie, and we talked about this, I'm sure, in the past, but just like how far like the franchises come, and probably no one was thinking about that when they were making that movie. But just imagine going back in time and telling someone who just came out of theater seeing the Fast and Furious and be like, yeah, there's gonna be 10 of them, and in the 10th one, John Cena's in it. Yeah. Oh, and at the end, The Rock is revealed, and being like, wait,
as a returning guest,
as a return, and be like, wait, what? It's 2001. Like, wait, The Rock, like,
but
Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and then John Cena, I think he's a little bit later, but like they'll be like, who's John? You know what I mean? Like, be like, just you wait.
And then you'll be like, wait, how white are you? You probably will be upset that this woman named Brie Larson's going to be in the movie for dumb reasons, but she's not in it that much, and she gets shot. You'll probably like that if you hate women. So
right. No, I mean, it's just like, it's crazy to think about like how like grounded that film was, and then just if you saw that movie then watch this, I can't imagine like the questions you would have.
Right. The act of driving a car down an exploding dam, the Hoover Dam. You know what I mean?
Going from that to like just getting out of the reach from a train.
Right.
At the
Which
end.
is always a
that
stressful
was the big thing,
to be fair, but yeah.
It's just crazy to me.
Man.
I'm like, maybe that's the true way to watch these movies. Watch the first one, then watch the latest one, and then try to guess what happens in between.
Yeah. Would be fun. And this would be an experiment someone else would have to set up for you. Because I talked about, maybe not even on a podcast anymore, but maybe just you general. Way before I started reading A Song of Ice and Fire, aka Game of Thrones, and I had never seen the television show on HBO, as a joke, but would actually have been a cool idea, especially if I documented it, watching the show in reverse episode order. You start from the last episode and you watch them back to back, in reverse order. I don't necessarily mean that for the sake of these movies, because it's a different thing. It's just 10. That's only 10 viewings. However, you have someone set up ahead of time. They repackage the movie. They splice it up so it's scenes in reverse order. So you're playing a scene, the last scene of the movie, then the preceding scene, then the preceding scene, then the preceding scene, all the way in reverse. So the movie's not playing in reverse.
You spliced the two movies together and just call it the Fast and Furious
X
Snyder cut.
Oh yeah, it's 4:3, black and white with super exposure on. Like, the contrast
so it ends. Instead of the credits at the end of the Fast and the Furious, it then cuts. It just says 20 years later or whatever.
So the end credit scene is another movie. It's an entire movie. No, it's just down the Hoover Dam, and then you cut to like them coming out of the water, and then you cut to the bombs about to explode.
How did we get here? And we watch the.
Yeah. Ooh, that'd be a fun, premiere project. You have 10 movies. You take scenes from all 10 of those movies, and then you try to make a movie out of
like
all
a weird video essay.
Yeah.
Well, they were doing showings of the Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, not at
for like one day. I saw it was like day we were recording or something, and I'm like, maybe I would have gone. But also like with the AMC Stubs thing, if it's like special things like that, it doesn't count towards it. Like when I saw Shin Ultraman, I had to pay the $25 or whatever it was to see the one night only. Like I kind of get it, but I kind of like think it's dumb but
Yeah.
so like I already pay for the pass, so I can see 3 movies a week. In the fine print, it's not special showings. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
can we go
I
back
digress.
to Dante? Because he's like the
Sure.
main guy who pushes all the buttons.
He definitely
and I
pushes some
mentioned it-
buttons.
Yeah, and I mentioned that in our non-spoilers that I'm like, he brought something to the series, at least from a villain end, that we haven't really seen in anything else. And I think it's just his like there's other characters who are like confident, right, that they'll get the job done. You know what I mean? But his level of like confidence is shown through his action and also like how he presents himself constantly to Dom. And I just really dig it. Where like when he's fighting, he's laughing mid-fight. That he's like that confident that like, or he's like weirdly into it. Like, or the fact that like he's confident enough to go to what would be seen as Dom's turf in Rio de Janeiro and like, I'm going to race you. And has it all, planned out. Or he's on the same bridge where his father was killed, you know what I mean? And right before that fight happened, where he's just walking out in the open. Like if Dom had a gun or something, he's done, but he's that confident that like he knows Dominic Toretto. And other characters or other villains I feel like have said that or like, or to that level, but like he's at a different level of like both crazy and obsessive.
That's the big thing. Like some people point out, oh, he's queer, but like it's not that on its own. It's the fact that he's crazy. Like he is dead people he's talking to, just in general. You know what I mean? In the backyard.
Did they say he was queer? I didn't even notice that. But
I could say queer coded, but I feel like it's very obvious that he's queer. You know what I mean? It's definitely the portrayal that they're going.
He's
for.
Cool as fuck. Whatever. But
yes,
like...
I agree. But what to go off what you're saying with like he has a vendetta against Dom. This is not the first villain that's had that. We've had Jacob obviously before that. Yeah, Jason Statham before that as well. However, and I guess Charlize Theron in F9, but not really.
Right.
There was always other things. Like I really wish that F9 it was just Jacob. And yeah, sure you have Charlize Theron in the background, but the other fucks, I don't even remember the dude's name. The stupid idiot with the Star Wars jokes and like his crew, cut them out completely. But this movie does this. It is just the bad guy has a personal vendetta against our heroes, and that's what he's going out for. And that fuels it a lot better than just the spy stuff. I didn't really care that God's Eye was in this movie again. You know what I mean? Because it's just a tiny tool that does what you would assume any movie that has vague spy stuff would do. We can track people with it. Like it's whatever, you know what I mean? Like I feel like he is really good because I like characters, I like villains that dedicate themselves to the singular goal of just trying to destroy the main character, the hero, right? I really like the Joker.
He's really
when it's
playing
about
with
that.
Dom, though. He could have killed Dom multiple times, but he wants to punish him, and I think that's different than the other villains. The other villains, I think, if they had the chance, they would have just killed him. In this movie, he could have killed him at least, I think, from my count, 3 times, like because he's in his presence.
Easy.
He could have brought a gun. He doesn't bring a gun. You know what I mean? He's playing with them like food. You know what I mean? And he keeps saying, "I'm going to punish you. I'm making you suffer." It's like, it's like a pig on a what's that thing? On like a campfire there. Where,
I forget.
Kind of like that. Where I think he sees Dom as that. Where he's like, I'm going to. And
he's trying to outdo Dom a little bit. He brings him back to the bridge, sure, but like the wrecking ball of a bomb. We saw the trailers and we're like, oh, this feels like the safe. And like, yes, they are calling that out. The fact that they showed the safe stuff in the beginning isn't just to tie the movie to, trying to anchor him into being a part of the universe, is to show that off so that he can call that out. But also, by the way, watching that, like, without the aspect of Fast Five's, like, heist aspect, and we're just seeing the destruction. We're like, that's a lot of people that died, or that's a lot of destruction. And it like, we're stealing money. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, he's trying to one up him and Dom, and he does every step of the way. Even at the very end, he accounts for the fact that Dom will probably drive his car down the Hoover Dam like a ramp, because if he's in a car, he's gonna do something. So he has bombs there to blow it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you mentioned Harley Quinn earlier in the Joker. Honestly, the more I think about it, he's kind of like a Joker-esque character where he's a little like crazy, has plans ahead, and he's, like the Joker in I haven't read all like too many comics of Batman and whatnot, but I've seen movies, cartoons, or whatever. The Joker's character likes Batman, that he exists. He doesn't want to necessarily always. He wants to kill Batman, but also at the same time,
he wants to teach Batman as well.
Yeah.
And I like villains that are like that. The other one that I like to call out to is, and I'm a big biased person, Sephiroth is that way with Cloud in Final Fantasy VII, where it's more like at the beginning, he doesn't know who this kid is. It's different. But he gets to a point within the extra stuff beyond that first game with the Advent Children movie, and then his appearances in Kingdom Hearts, which is funny, and other stuff like that, where he is trying to get into the head of the hero, and that's what Dante does, in this movie. It isn't that he's just a few steps ahead. He could, like you said, at least 3 times just outright kill him. There were moments where why didn't you bring a gun, Dante? All you needed to do was shoot, but that's not the point. He's not trying to
he could have killed Little B.
Now, you talk about the Joker. Famous Joker. There's a few famous Joker, comic books.
There's a lot of Jokers out there. Impractical Jokers.
There's a lot of Jokers. I think one of the most famous ones, because I think this happened before any other likewise attempt, was A Death in the Family, where the Joker brutally beats Jason Todd, Robin, to death with a crowbar, and Batman is not able to get there in time. He just sees the aftermath, right? And there's that famous comic book cover of him holding dead Robin, right? He beats him to death to get to Batman. I'm actually a little bit surprised there wasn't that craziness where sure, he wants Dom to suffer, and yeah, there was a whole team there. I get it. But to really make him suffer, because I really don't think he made him suffer. I feel like Dom, for the most part in this movie, was keeping up with him and staying no one died until the final kind of climactic with Jacob.
He killed some of the people in Rio de Janeiro. I guess is one guy.
Yeah,
there.
he blew up that one guy. I get
but
it.
But there's no one to for us the audience
sacrifice
no one,
Tej. He doesn't care about Tej. Beat him to death. You know what I mean? Cut him open. Not that I would want that for that character, obviously, but something like that. What if he killed Letty? You know what I mean? For real. She doesn't even know that guy, bro. Anything to do with Fast Five, because she wasn't in that movie. You know what I mean? Right. Which is, it feels like it's kind of.
To be fair, the cliffhanger is the plane crashes and whatnot, and yeah, I think we both agree that they're probably all fine. I think they get out of the car and they'll.
The bigger the explosion, the more likely they'll survive. The smaller the explosion. You know what I mean? That's why I think Jacob's dead. But at the same time, Han.
But to be fair, maybe we'll be wrong, and maybe they are gone. But I doubt it. I don't think that's how they would want to go out. Anyways, but
yeah.
I would be surprised if that's what we get in the next one. But yeah,
I'm with you. Yeah, maybe it opens. Well, seriously,
but I at the very least, Dante is to me a Joker light in that sense, where he's just different than the other characters, and I just feel like it's so refreshing. I feel like he's honestly my favorite villain in the series by far. The more I think about it, I'm like, is anyone come close? Anyone as memorable? Maybe it's recency bias, but I don't know. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Let's think for a second. First movie's villain, it was technically Dom and Paul Walker against each other, right? Brian and Dom. Okay, ignore them. 2 had just a generic I'm a rich, black market dude. Ignore it. 3 had the Yakuza son. He's forgettable. Ignore it. 4 had the drug dealer. Okay, you're getting there a little bit. 5 had Reyes Senior, cartoon, South American in the eyes of American with the American views skew, political billionaire person. 6 had Owen Shaw, who was the best one at up until then. I don't know if I don't think he's the best now, but he had a little bit more of a he was saying smart things. He, didn't underestimate our heroes, etc. 7 had Jason Statham, you know what I mean? We had Shaw Sr., the older brother Shaw, and now he's a hero, so maybe we just ignore that completely. And he was not a really he's not a good villain in 7 anyway. 8 was Cypher. She was good in 8. 9 was, I guess, Jacob.
If anyone, I guess she made Dom suffer the most so far, if you're talking about just people
she
killed.
Did what we want. She killed someone right in front of Dom. So, like...
Yeah.
It would be a battle between her and Dante, but I feel like just giving it to Dante anyway. But maybe it's just because we know she's not going to become a good guy. She can't. They know, by the way, everyone says that, every villain in the movies becomes a good guy. You know what I mean? That's
it's like
just
a Pokemon. You beat them up enough to catch them.
Exactly. They know that. So, like, no, like, she's out for herself in this movie. It's mutually assured destruction if they, fight each other. They're both going to lose, right? The last movie, she's just going to be the villain again, and that's going to be her for real. And I really do believe that. So maybe she'll end up being better overall. But
he's at least,
I'm with you.
It feels refreshing. He feels like the best in this moment.
He's also fun, and the closest fun villain we had was her. So, you know what I mean? And she was fun to watch. Less than a fun personality, and he's both.
Yeah, he's like also funny. Like he mocks the characters. He says funny things. I think like the comedy in this movie, I don't think was like amazing. Like usually the movies that they're not making me laugh that much. You know what I mean? Like they're like haha, but like he actually was like making me laugh at moments because of just the delivery, and how he was just the way he was saying things was just. The delivery of the lines, like I said, is just good. I think at one point he Mario jumps, by the way. Am I crazy?
I didn't catch it. I don't want to tell you no, I didn't catch it.
He like gets down from a tower. It's not at the Rome part. It's I think in where was it? It was like near later in the movie, but it's when they find the secret base there where they find Jacob and Little B. He says, "Okay." He says, "Let's go," and then he does like a weird jump, and I'm like, "Is that a Mario jump?" And then he gets. I'm gonna
see the movie again soon, like within a week, so I'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, you let me know. I'm like, is that a Mario reference?
I definitely remember him being excited after that, in that tower scene. So like, I think you might not be wrong. He was.
If not, it gave me Mario vibes in a really good way.
I did laugh at several points. Although I'm not really an out loud laughter, I realize, but I laugh on the inside.
I mean, I wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like there was a different between a chuckle and like
an acknowledgement of something that I found clever and funny.
Yeah.
Him painting the toenails on one of the corpses I found was funny.
And then they kept panning for just a
real
quick
men
couple
don't
seconds.
Paint their toenails. That's the joke. No, I'm kidding.
No, but I just love what it kept quickly panning over to that one guy who's more messed up than the other.
Yeah, because he had tape it was the nose. Yeah, and
he looked real bad.
Yeah. And the Pete Davidson thing was funny. Skeet. Yeah, maybe it was funny. The funniest part of the movie for me is the ending where we're like, haha, Vin Diesel, you're gonna die. Because in real life, he decided to one-up Tom Cruise and do his own stunts. He's like, destroy the Hoover Dam, I can make it with this boy.
Flood and really mess up like that whole area. Like the whole Nevada area. Just like really fuck
it's gonna be like that's a lot of water. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of water. I have a nitpick about the ending. It's an editing thing. Because I found it powerful, and I don't mean that hyperbolically or hyperbolically, whatever. I'm just going to call
You're right. I think the first one's right, yeah.
Did I ever tell you that I knew hyperbole, but I would see the word written down, and for whatever reason, at one point they were two different words in my head. And then when they fused, but I still pronounced in my head when I read hyperbole as hyperbole. And I was very embarrassed when I realized when I said out loud hyperbole, and then I said, yeah, it's kind of hyperbole. I'm like, wait a second, no. I felt like an idiot. I don't mean that that the dam scene was powerful hyperbolically. I mean, I legitimately mean this. I felt it was powerful. Just that moment where like, what are they going to do? And I feel like that might be the best way to end the movie. My nitpick is it's not the way they end the movie, because then they cut to the reveal of Gal Gadot being back. And it ends on like this hopeful note. Buddies, Dom's dead now. Like,
I think here's what they should have done. Here's what they should have done.
Before.
Here's what they should have done. With that part, they should have made that the mid-credit scene and then make The Rock the end credit scene.
100% agree.
And I'm not a big fan.
Or
I'm kind of getting sick of the
yeah.
credits thing, like in general, like just because sometimes after watching a 2 hour and 45-minute film, I'm kind of the last thing I want to do is sit through all the trailers just to see if there's an end. Now what I do is Google as soon as the credits roll. I'll be like, is there an end credit scene for this film?
You had me this time to tell you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
But I didn't know, so I sat through the credits, and like it was obviously just like the theater, that specific theater or the projector or whatever. But like when it popped up and it was done, and they immediately shut the projector off in a way where like we sat there waiting.
Yeah, and they just
that was it. I guess the screen's still black, so because usually it pops into like AMC, we love you, Nicole Kidman.
I think that would have been cool. Been like,
hi.
Oh shit, Gal Gadot's back. Oh, The Rock, and then like, I was gonna be another. The Rock is back too. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like it's just like boom, boom.
Yeah. So you're with me. I feel like that. I don't like how that was edited. Your impactful moment was then not necessarily undercut, but the feeling is a little bit mitigated because you're like, oh my God, Gal Gadot's back. Wow. And you're so happy because you knew she was going to be back. But hey, at least they didn't like freaking just make that a part of the trailer like they did with Han and F9.
I think they learned their lesson, hopefully, with that. I don't know if they learned their lesson, but like, because I don't think anyone was complaining necessarily, but I don't know. That was a smart move regardless, because I would have been really bummed if I knew. I mean, you got spoiled with The Rock, but like, and I had a general hunch just based off what I saw without someone directly saying it. It still made it like really hyped to like see. I'm like, oh, was I right? Like, but it's a lot better than it being like, in the trailer, like The Rock's like, yeah, I'm here to help, or whatever the fuck it would have been. Yeah. I'm sure he'll be in the marketing maybe in the future for the next one.
What if he's just not in the movie? He's like, no, I hate it. They tricked me. I didn't realize it.
I thought this was Jumanji 3.
They told me I was going to be playing a Black Adam guy again. Oh my God. A Black Adam guy. What does that even mean?
Superhero, I guess. Oh.
Never mind. Yeah, no, like I liked the whole damn idea. By the way, I don't know if this is intentional, part of characterization of our villain Dante or not, but like those trucks were remote controlled. He didn't just send 2 of his men to die by driving trucks, obviously. But we live in a Fast and Furious world where every car, even if it's from the 40s, can get hacked somehow. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, whatever. He could just do it. And like, I'm not going to nitpick like how did it get here to here so quickly? Like, it feels like, he has this ease of access. Again, I don't care. The movie's really fun. Movie was a lot of fun. So
I mean, there's a lot of those. Where did they get the boat to get to the place, the secret place? Who cares? I think it's funny. I think it's funny that all of a sudden they're on a boat. I'm like,
would you like
great.
the movie to just not have anything because they just they think like you? You know what I mean? Honestly, when I see some stuff like that, like CinemaSins has obviously poisoned media literacy in the YouTube generation, almost single-handedly. I would like to just throw that out there. Here's my thing. The people that are like, that wouldn't be realistic because, I mean, how would they get that boat? I'm sorry you lack imagination. The movie's not as boring as you are. That's just it. Like, there are logistical nitpicks of like, wait a second, why is this character referring to this character as siblings when the movie hasn't told us that? and then at one point we get a scene where they realize that's like an error, but like this is just part of the way the movie is made. Like, sorry, do you want 40 more minutes of them negotiating with the boat guy?
John Cena would not have gotten through security with that kayak.
But all I can see is, oh, he has friends. It doesn't matter. You know,
yeah, but I'm saying, like, I don't care. I don't care what the
Smirnoff.
reason is. It works for me, and that doesn't like.
Exactly.
I said at the top, if you don't like Fast and Furious movies or think that's not realistic, that was like a thing on Twitter for like a couple days where it was like, what was the one moment in the Fast and Furious movies where you're like, oh hell nah, and like most of them were funny, but there were some people taking it so literally. They're like, yeah, when this happened, I'm like, bro, that's the sixth one. It took you that long to realize that these movies are like silly and like over the top. It took you that long. Like, oh, when Dom used he like stomped and like the whole parking lot collapsed. I'm like, yeah, that's goofy, but like if you watch the whole movie and like go in, once again, if you embrace it, you don't have to embrace it. You can think these movies are bad and think they're cheesy. You can think all the things you want to think. That's totally fair. I get where you're coming from, really, I do. But like, we embrace the cheese. You know what I mean? Like, that's the difference.
And guess what? Half of these motherfuckers that unironically have this weird mentality of not liking the obscure or absurdity of it all. Half these motherfuckers, they watch anime. They like that shit. They just like it in a different form. They don't like the fact that this seems mainstream. They don't like the fact that it seems like it's not a weird thing that can have the excuse of being like that, because it's
like
also
going
trying to be cool.
It's the same thing with like John Wick movies. If you're going in thinking that like, how is he still alive? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. That is the point. Yes, you watched our movie. He likes the dog, and the dog died. That's why he's like this. Like, do you need more? You know what I mean?
It's actually the most simplistic like plot ever.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how like brilliant it is. Just dog die, I'm mad. I am too mad to die.
I still need to see John Wick 4.
Amazing. Dude, better than John Wick 3. Somehow. They did it.
Really?
Yeah.
John
and
Wick
it's
3 had
even
Halle
more
Berry
it's even
with her
more
dogs, right?
It's even more, it's actually has like that kind of Fast and Furious thing where like, we've established these rules and now we're going to up them and make them a little bit more ridiculous to the point where it's just fucking great.
I haven't
somehow that movie did not feel like 3 hours.
Okay.
I can't really say that with like Avengers
3
and
since
stuff.
it was in theaters. Do I need to rewatch 3 to watch 4?
I rewatched 3 the same day. We watched it and then had dinner and then went to the movie. So like I'm not saying no, but
I watched
think it
1
makes
and
it really
2
fun.
right before the pandemic started again. I rewatched them right before the pandemic started, or was actually in that month where like everyone's like, oh man, like there's something going on. Maybe we shouldn't be, and we went anyway.
Right.
But we watched it at my house. But okay. Do you have anything else about this movie that you want to talk about before we give our overall thoughts in the form of a ranking?
I just feel like I said, I think the first half it had to put some things in motion to get to us the second half, but I think the second half really just makes this movie just really good for me. Just straight fun. Like, this is a popcorn movie at its best, and this is peak Fast and Furious. I don't know, like, and like I think in the last movie, before even going to see that one, we were like, how can they up it? How can they up it after they did this? Okay, they went to space, and we were talking about like, what can they do differently? And
that's right.
It wasn't even the stunts or like the settings for this. I think it was just getting someone like Jason Momoa, making the stakes higher, make it feel like everyone's threatened.
Yeah, because they are. All right. So, folks that may not have seen this show before, hello, we are the Chronicles of Diesel. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. Nope, that's the wrong.
We're about halfway through the Fast X right now. If you're listening to this while watching the movie, which would be weird, but I guess you could do that.
Yeah, well, maybe you are. On the Chronicles of Diesel, we rank and review every movie that we've done so far, which this is our 47th picture or game that we have on the list. We rank them on 2 different lists. So we have a movie ranking list, and we have a Vin Diesel performance ranking list. And then if you're watching on YouTube, you can see these lists visually. So I recommend that. Pause this Spotify, go to YouTube, jump to the time code that you think it is, and then you'll see the visuals. We also have an overall ranking list, which is basically just combination of the other two points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why our current number one is actually 12, because it's, 12 points. You know what I mean? So we rank the movie in two different locations. The movie ranking list is the entire movie overall. So the entire package, the whole everything. Vin Diesel performance is just Vin Diesel's performance and his input on the motion picture, if we know anything.
Like if he was a producer, or if, let's say, he directed
Exactly.
this film, we would put that into account.
Exactly. So in order for us, at the easy starting point for us to put this on the movie ranking list, which, we'll get to in a second, I'll read it all out. Easy way to do it is to rank it within Fast and Furious movies. So before we get to reading off the whole list, let me ask you, Devin, where in your personal view of your own personal Fast and Furious movie rankings that you might have in your head, where do you feel like this movie falls?
It's tough because, like I said, the first half I kind of was like, okay, where's this going? Like, what? Like, okay, there's Dante. He's kind of cool. He wasn't getting as much screen time at the beginning, I felt like, or letting him do the kind of the bits and stuff that he would do later on, the comedy and his actions and more actionable items. But then, like, the second half, I feel like paid off for all that, like, build up. And then the stakes felt more higher at that point. And, I don't know, it just, like, then, like, that it's just the Rock reveal alone, like, puts it up for me. Just being like, I'm just happy that he's back and we're gonna get him, even if it is only like 10 minutes of screen time. The next one, that's better than what I thought going in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's better than what we thought was maybe happening, where like, oh, he died off screen type of thing. There was that fake rumor going around.
Right. I think it's at least in the top 3. I don't know yet. I know we put Fast 5, I think, is our top one. And then Fate and the Furious. And I know, like, we've had a big debate. If I remember correctly, we kind of had a debate of, like, where are these two? Because, like, both of them are good. Like, Fast 5's a great, like, kind of almost standalone thing, or like hey, if you didn't see the first 4, you can kind of just jump in at this point and you'll pretty much be caught up to a degree. Then Fate of the Furious was, like, our favorite, like, in terms of the stakes and the submarine, and I feel like it's a more complete, I guess, in that regard. I don't know, man. Just like Jason Momoa, this is really like driving up the stock for this film, and then just the action. John Cena's in this. It's tough.
I'll
man.
tell you where I put it. I'll tell you.
Let me
where I
know,
put
because
it.
I'm kind of just I'm in the top 3 range. I just don't know what.
I'm in top 2.
Okay.
Because I feel like everything that the Fate of the Furious was doing, in terms of its spectacle, in terms of its villain, in terms of stakes, this movie does that just more in ways that are fun, obviously, but in ways I feel like might be a little bit better. I feel like this movie handles the multiple characters better than the Fate of the Furious did.
True.
I feel like this movie even handled that Clint Eastwood's son, Scott Eastwood's character, Little Nobody, better than F8, where like F8 was like, he's the new white guy that drives the blue import cars in the team, and everyone in the audience is like, no, we don't want him in here. This one, did a little bit better by almost killing him off, and he's away. I just feel like this movie is more fun than that movie. And while we talked about, is Dante the best villain, he's a more fun villain to watch than Cypher. 8 is more intense in some moments. However, I still don't think that intensity is non-existent in this movie. There's just a lot going on in the movie where we're jumping around a lot. If we were to supercut the movie and just have the Dominic Toretto scenes, and maybe with some Dante stuff to kind of contextualize it all, I feel like it would feel as intense as F8 is. When it comes to Fast 5, I struggle only on the part where I feel like Fast 5 is a perfect movie, in the sense that you can watch it on its own. You don't need the other movies, where this one I feel like you do. Otherwise, you will feel like you're missing something. Fast 5, we are comfortable, you and I feel like are comfortable saying you do not need to see any of the other movies. You can just watch Fast 5 and that be enough. You know what I mean? I struggle on that part because this movie is not a perfect movie. Like I feel like Fast Five is, but it's a lot more fun. And it's a lot more, I don't want to say epic because that word is just thrown out. It's epic in a more traditional sense of epic scale, epic stakes. Fast Five is a nice, and not a nice, it's a very fun and awesome heist movie with cool team dynamics. It really understands a multi-character, the protagonist is more than one guy, one gal. It's the whole team. And it really tries to go with that aspect. But this movie does that by having them all split up and giving them all time to shine. That was our issue with 6, 7, and 8, and 9, was that it can feel like there's too many people on the team sometimes. We have 2 hackers. We just need one for the sake of utilitarian purposes, and then that gives more time for people to have conversations with each other. But this movie, I feel like, does a good job of giving people time to shine, giving people time to talk to each other. I am willing, you know what? I'm just taking the leap. I think this is the best Fast and Furious movie. I talked about my willingness to just immediately say this is the best thing ever for every movie I watch. I get it. I feel like I have been justifying it to myself more and more now. Now, maybe as time goes on, maybe we re-rank things in our own personal hearts as we watch show, is this movie on TV, or I'm going to throw on a movie, which one do I want? Rankings change and go as you grow up and grow older, and these characters have, and yet I still feel like this movie is the best Fast and Furious movie.
I mean, like, going into F9, we were hyped. I wouldn't say as hyped as maybe because, I mean, we were hyped, but I don't know if I was as hyped for that one as I am for this one, just because of, like, I feel like it was exciting. It felt, from the trailers that we saw, was like, it just felt like different. Like, hey, we have a new villain, all that. And I came out of the theater more hyped. After F9, I was kind of like, okay, that's fine. Like, I felt like it was cool, but like, we didn't rate it that high. Like, I think it's kind of in the middle of the pack. We didn't really like the whole like flashback stuff as much. Like, I get why they put it in there to give context to Jacob, but
yeah,
it just kind of, the plot didn't really feel good. But the action was great, and I think that's why we put it in the middle of the pack, and it wasn't as down the list for the Fast movies. But yeah, I feel like this movie kind of has everything. Like I said, I think the first part for me was kind of just needed to gel a little bit better, but it pays off to me by the second half, where I'm like, I don't want it to end. Like, I didn't want it to end, and I knew it was coming. Like, where is this going to end? Where is this going to end? And then it was right at the end of the dam about to break. So, and yeah, I mean, it's always tough when you're rating a movie based off of like, have you seen the other ones? But if you're already ranking all the movies, I think it's that in its own right, it's fair to be like, okay, well, this one relies on the other ones, but we're ranking all of them. If we're ranking it by itself, then maybe that's a different story. Like, I maybe think that Fast 5 is a better movie, but this is a better Fast movie, if that makes sense. So I don't know what that means for our movie ranking, but I think I agree with you. I think this is my favorite as of right now. That might change. I might have to watch Fast 5 again and come back to you, but in this moment, I came out of the theater being like, fuck yes, The Rock is back, baby. You know what I mean? Like,
as Michelle Rodriguez says, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it written down, although maybe the script is online, who knows? If you keep looking in the rear view, you'll miss the eternity of this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, on that note, we are going
anything
to
is
now...
possible. Nothing is impossible, whatever the quote is.
We're going to rank the movie. Let me read the damn list. Shut up. Shut the up. The movie ranking list, all 46 of them thus far, is as follows. And again, watch this on YouTube if you're not on YouTube, so you can visualize this. The
director's opinion, the director's choice.
You get to see stuff happen on screen. I feel like that's pretty good. Now, number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. 4, Saving Private Ryan. 5, Fast 5. 6, Avengers Endgame. 7, Avengers Infinity War. 8, The Fate of the Furious. 9, Fast and Furious 6. 10, Furious 7. 11, Triple X. 12, The Fast and the Furious. 13, Triple X Return of Xander Cage. 14, F9, The Fast Saga. 15, Ralph Breaks the Internet. 16, The Iron Giant. 17, Riddick. 18, Awakenings. 19, Fast and Furious. 20, Bloodshot. 21, A Man Apart. 22, Find Me Guilty. 23, Boiler Room. 24, The Chronicles of Riddick. 25, Thor, Love and Thunder. 26, Pitch Black. 27, The Last Witch Hunter. 28, The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. 29, The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. 30, Vin Diesel. 31, Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. 32, Knockaround Guys. 33, Fast and Furious Crossroads. 34, Wheelman. 35, The Pacifier. 36, Babylon AD. 37, Los Bandoleros. 38, I Am Groot. 39, The Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena. 40, The Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. 41, Multifacial. 42, The Chronicles of Riddick, Dark Fury. 43, Strays. 44, Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth, See You Again. 45, Fast and Furious Supercharged. And 46, Riddick, Blindsided. Now, real quick.
I was going to say we put Thor Love and Thunder too high.
I agreed. I rewatched the beginning of that movie during dinner the other night, and I hate that movie more now. I just don't like it.
We put it too high. We put it too high.
Did you catch when there was that talk pre-movie that some interview somewhere that they're putting they're doing a tribute to Paul Walker to really put that to rest type of thing. And they're like, why? They did a song for him, and Seven, I feel like they did a good job. Did you hear that song played when
like
him
the
and his
melody.
grandmother were in the garage? Yep. I caught it. I'm like, I've heard the song long enough because of this fucking podcast that we do. I know it.
Again.
No, it's just instrumental, but still. And I'm like, you know what?
Beep, 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 beep.
I feel like I'm starting to catch the music. I heard the dun 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 like several times in this movie. I'm like, that was in one of the movies. And there's a couple that are in there. So
yeah.
Movie ranking, I think we're both in accordance here. It is above Fast 5. But it is above Saving Private Ryan.
By an inch. But winning is winning, So.
Winning is winning. When Little B says that when he plays his Hot Wheels game, I was actually surprised it was Hot Wheels and not the Fast and Furious Spy Racers game or Supercharged, but there's no multiplayer.
That would have been really funny if they're playing the multiplayer just to say, fuck you.
Yeah.
Little B
you
got
can't play it online, but we can. Because remember, they delisted it. No, the servers are still up, or whatever. It's above Fast 5. We have Saving Private Ryan and 3 Guardians movies to tackle.
So this is, like I said, this is a better Fast and Furious movie, but is it a better movie? Let's just say for now, let's make it easy on ourselves. It's above Fast 5 by an inch. But it makes me think, is this better than Saving Private Ryan?
We put 3 Marvel Disney movies above Saving Private Ryan, so we can't hold that movie in such a sanctimonious regard. You know what I mean?
I know, but
I really have to think.
I really do believe it's close to a perfect film. I really I don't know. But F9 is more fun. And I feel like our movie ranking is much more, Fast X is more fun. And I feel like that's why the Guardians are as high as they are, because they're fun and they feel just memorable and
they have heart,
you can always
and that's
watch.
why they're up there. They feel like they deserve to be enjoyed on less of a popcorn level and more of a
if you're doing a cinematography direction, then Saving Private Ryan's probably the top of this list, and then I don't know after that. But in terms of just what our tastes
Awakenings
would
be much higher too, if we
I think maybe it's 4th above Saving Private Ryan, if we're willing to be that, I wouldn't say bold, but just I think if we're just ranking it on rewatchability, which I know we've used for tiebreakers before.
Rewatchability, I would rather watch this over Saving Private Ryan, but that's just the weight and impact of that movie.
Saving Private Ryan is a fantastic movie. It's an emotional movie, but I feel like I only watch it every 5, maybe 7 years, because it's I don't need to watch D-Day for fun. You know what I mean?
Now, do you need to watch G-Day, Groot Day, 3 damn times over Fast X.
I feel like the first Guardians movie, man, I just really love that film. Like, it's just so fun.
Your cat does too.
Yeah. I say fourth. I don't know if I can put it
I
above a
struggle.
Guardians film.
I would really like to just break up that block.
I
of
know.
Guardians
I feel
movies
like
at
this is
the
going to be
top.
our
I really
closest
want
one
to.
anytime soon, too.
But I
You know, though?
struggle.
You know what I mean?
You know, I mean, granted, our personal rankings of those 3 Marvel movies are different. I basically
Yeah.
go 3, 2, 1. I think you go 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, right? And we met in the middle.
Yeah.
So
I think that's why it's tough for me for here. Where
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't.
I think I'm just gonna make one more Hail Mary plea. I don't even know if I feel like it should go above 4 or not, but I'm just gonna throw out one more plea, one more pitch here. Guardians of the Galaxy, well, granted, is like, I don't know, the 10th movie in the Marvel stuff, is the first of its own thing. Completely new people, so detached from anything in there. They could have said, oh, it's its own thing and it's not a part of the MCU, and then people could believe it, right? It was detached like that. So therefore, it's starting at 1. And it was a heartfelt and beautiful and wonderful movie. And then you have 2, and then you have 3, which I feel like amp it up even more. And 3 was the perfect ending to a trilogy, I will say as perfect of an ending to a trilogy that Marvel's probably ever going to get. Spider-Man, I feel like you have to give a little bit to Sony there, just because they're the filmmakers. Kevin Feige was executive producer due to the Marvel association with it.
And then maybe Iron Man, but he needed like 7 movies to get there.
And even his own trilogy, I would say no. Guardians 3 is as perfect an ending to a trilogy as Marvel is ever going to get. And while Fast X is not the end of a decalogy, because we know there's at least 1 more movie, maybe 2. God, I hope it's 2. I just don't want them to end, personally.
If you want a trilogy for Fast X point 1, point 2, point 3, or whatever
XX
it is.
and XXX. Honestly,
I would love
perfect
Fast Triple X, but then somehow Vin Diesel plays both Dom and then Xander Cage. Somehow gets in the film. Triple X. He's like, I know one last guy we can call. And it's like, wow, he looks a lot like you. Yeah, he's my twin brother I never talked about. Or I was separated at birth or something. I never knew about him until recently.
And he could skateboard. This is the 10th movie. We've had so many movies leading up to this where every single time they're trying to amp the stakes up in terms of the action and just the absurdity. Absurdity would be like lots of boobs or something. Absurdity.
So many titties.
Of the action. Yeah. The absurdity of the action and just the personal stakes and this and that. And while I feel like James Gunn is a better writer in terms of making sure the interpersonal character stuff matters to him and it happens in there, I feel like because he does a better job with that. I feel like it's not, if there were 10 Guardians of the Galaxy movies, who knows how we would really feel about it overall. Because if this third Guardians movie was the 10th Guardians movie and we had 6 others in between 2 and 3, aka 10, maybe we would look at it differently. This is the 10th one. And the fact that we got here at all is incredible. The fact that I feel like every single time we're more hyped than the last is incredible. The fact that we've bought into this and the Diesel. There's a podcast.
The Corona's cold, baby. The Corona is cold.
We're doing a podcast about this. We're watching every Vin Diesel thing, and I know that's a cheap ploy to throw out there. We're not doing a James Gunn podcast. Right. I get it. It's very cheap of me to say that to say that this is the end of our podcast, because it's not. I just feel like it's very easy to have a spark of something new and be creative with a new beginning, like Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is. It's a different beast than it's the 10th one, and it's the first part of a 2, maybe 3-part finale epic. You know what I mean? It's a saga. It's the Fast Saga. that is just my thing. I don't know if I necessarily
I
even
will
fully
I will say that
believe-
I kind of counteract that, and I like what you're saying though. But I'll counteract it a little bit and be saying Guardians, like the first, like you said, the first one doesn't like it ties into the MCU, but like only in a like, hey, Thanos is involved, and the stone is kind of used as a weapon, but like he could have added that without the help of MCU, right?
Right.
But then the other ones, especially the third one, relies on relies on all the other movies coming out. And one positive for the Guardians movies, especially the third one, is that the last couple MCU movies, even ones that we're looking forward to, like Thor: Love and Thunder, have been stinky. And then this came out, and it feels like, okay, good, thank God. Thank God. And we didn't do really VNN because there really wasn't too much news. The only news I really had, if we did it, was that Guardians 3 was estimated to get around $550 million right now. And then I think the second one was around 750. But like compared to the last couple MCU movies, it's doing a lot better. And like, hey, maybe the superhero genre isn't dead yet, or at least maybe it's been pushed back because of the Guardians movies. So I guess like with what you're using the argument for Fast X, I could kind of see it for Guardians too, where like, yeah, there was only 3 movies. If you look at it as a trilogy, I get it. But if you look at it as part of the MCU, I feel like it's the bright spot, one of the bright spots of the MCU.
That's fair. And I agree with you. I feel like Guardians 3 is the best of the Guardians movies. And therefore, I still think it's better than the first one. I feel like everything you say is correct. But I feel like that I'm more arguing that I feel like Fast X should go above Guardians 1. Personally, it's when you get to 3, it's tough because we just saw 3 2 weeks ago. Guardians 3.
It's just tough for me because I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy is like from start to beginning a more just as a movie, like it's both fun, which I think, like I said, a lot of these rankings I think are just based off just general enjoyment out of them. Sometimes like things like Saving Private Ryan are like, okay, yeah, the cinematography is next level. It has aged very well. The cast is amazing, yada, yada. It's a Steven Spielberg film. I can really say all those things about Guardians of the Galaxy. And like I said, for me, FX, the channel, Fast X, like I said, like the first half kind of was a little bit slow or just didn't gel as well with me as a complete thing. Yeah, does it pay off in the second half? Yes, but I feel like they could have smoothed it out a little bit better. When I think Guardians of the Galaxy is just a better complete package. But I'm not going to lie to you when I say, though, that I'm more hyped, I think, for what's the future of Fast X compared to Guardians and whatnot at this point. Like I said at the beginning, I'm like, I was more hyped getting ready for Fast X than I was for Guardians 3. And I love Guardians. So, like, it's tough for me. Like, do I put the hype factor into this and put it above 3? I don't know. So I'm like, I'm not against it fully, but at the same time, I'm just like, I'm just trying to like take my, I guess, more the emotional aspect out of it and also the recency bias of it and just be like, I think Guardians of the Galaxy is just more of a quote unquote perfect movie and has both the enjoyment and fun factor in it. The comedy's better in it. The action is arguably just as good. The characters, I think, are maybe better. I don't know. You know, it's apples and oranges.
Like, listen, I even said I don't know if I fully even believe everything I was kind of pushing for, but like I just had to throw it out there. I'm willing to put it underneath Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and put Fast X at number 4 if you do something for me. You promise for me that for a special episode of the Chronicles of Diesel that we do somewhat in the future, you and I reveal our own personal movie ranking lists that we do in private and reveal them from 47 all the way. Oh my god!
I'm gonna have to for just straight memory too. We're gonna have to
just
like
how
rank
you
them.
Remember the movies. Yeah,
we could do something fun like that at some point for sure. That'd be interesting.
We're gonna do that. I feel like that's a fun episode idea as a special episode we could do because we're probably not going to be getting anything.
Yeah.
This show's probably going to go on a hiatus for a while again because unless
there's a surprise Riddick thing, which I think at best we're getting that maybe late next year. Would be my guess.
Maybe
probably 2025.
Yeah,
because they haven't even filmed or anything yet. So, but
Well, I think we are in an agreement that
Guardians of the Galaxy won by an inch this time.
That's all it
It
needed.
was a close race. Don't get me wrong, it was a close race, but I think Guardians had the extra nos in the tank, unfortunately, for Fast X.
Yeah. Okay. Which means that our new top 5, Guardians
top
2,
5,
Guardians 3, Guardians
Another top
Galaxy
5,
1,
back-to-back.
Fast X, and Saving Private Ryan. Okay.
Back to back. I'll take that. I'm happy we're getting back to back because I wasn't worried really, but like I was like, man, we did Volume 3. We're like, okay, it's a top 5 movie ranking, and then I think it was up there in the. Well, I guess it wasn't that much up there in the Vin ranking because he's just Groot. But I was like, okay, cool. We're gonna get 2 like fun movies for the show because we've done some. Not for this show, but for a Sonic Movie Show, our main parent company. Best way to describe it. Like we've done some stinker video game movies, so I was like looking forward to like, yeah, we're getting some Vin movies. Let's do it.
Yeah. Speaking of Vin, let's talk about Vin Diesel's performance in the movie. I feel like he was strong, but I feel like it's almost similar to Fast 5 in the sense that it wasn't fully focused on him, even though he had a lot of powerful moments. It's somewhere between Fast 5 and Fate of the Furious in terms of the Dom-centricness of it all. If I'm explaining myself correctly there.
Yeah.
Your cat agrees.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know if like I said, I'm gung-ho on putting Fast X as the best Fast and Furious movie. That's not the same reaction I have for this one. Part of me still loves that very first movie is not the main characterness of it.
He stole the show.
Yeah, he stole the show and had heart in it that wasn't there before. Fast and Furious, aka the 4th film, has a personal mission that he's on, and you can feel the change in the character happens with that movie. And it just feels personal. You're with him.
And to be fair, we would have put Fate of the Furious probably up in the top 3 if it wasn't for the Beefgate start.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure we don't forget about the producer side of things, the behind the scenes things for these movies, because I think sometimes we just focus maybe on his acting, which is important.
Okay.
But
you mentioned this
that.
earlier. You brought up the Fate of the Furious stuff earlier. So yeah, that movie went down. Obviously, you just said it again too. And then you're talking about when it comes to the Beef Watch being ended, so to speak, because we don't really know, for this movie, that it might elevate this movie. I have a counterpoint to that.
Mm-hmm.
We got the big embarrassing aspects of the Beef Watch during production of this movie. This is where we got the plea to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson saying about using Paul Walker, using his kids. You know, my kids call you Uncle Dwayne. You know what I mean?
Uncle Rock.
Throwing that, and The Rock's statement, not to him, but just about it being like, I feel like it was cheap and petty that he did that. Not his exact words, but that's the vibe, obviously. I'm mostly saying this tongue in cheek, but we do have to remember that's definitely a part of this movie. Also, we can assume that Justin Lin left the production of this movie because of Vin Diesel. We can assume some of that because of that very hostage and a captor feeling Instagram video that he had like a week before.
The day before. It was the day before.
Oh my God, the day before. Yeah, exactly. And one could assume that the reason why Justin Lin, who we could say is one of the people that we can thank for this franchise being as successful as it is in understanding the character of it all, Fast 5 is on him. You know what I mean? We can thank him for Fast 5, right?
Yeah.
Because he did a really good job there. He understands these characters and what the franchise can be. And having him decide that his ideas are either getting pushed down or what might be stupid things in his eyes being forced upon him, I feel like there's only one person that could trump him, and that's Vin Diesel. So one could assume that Vin Diesel is the reason why Justin Lin left. I don't really know.
But I could say, though, at least, okay, let's say they had their differences and they leave. Justin leaves, he found a replacement that beginning of filming was able to come in and put this movie together. Because there was a chance, like I wasn't really too worried about it, but I was like, there's part of the back of my head was like, this movie could be sloppy. And like I said, I think it's a little bit cohesiveness in the first half of the film was a little bit choppy at moments, or just didn't feel like as it gelled together as much. Not saying it was bad, and I feel like that could have been because of the director change. Maybe that's when they were filming that stuff. But you gotta give props to at least the director and maybe Vin for choosing him, if that's how it went down, or the studio, however it went, for coming in and making it still one of our favorite Fast movies.
Yeah,
if not our favorite.
And especially since I forget what the director of this movie's name is, but he did like nothing of interest, and we thought he might be underqualified for Fast X. You know what I mean? And
yeah. And how many times have we heard about like issues with filming or whatever it was for other films, not Vin Diesel films, but like other films, and then they wind up being really bad because of it, or just felt very rushed or whatever it was,
Yeah.
So I feel like it could have gone bad. I didn't think it was going to. I think it was still going to be like fine at worst, because we like Fast and Furious, but it could have been, So maybe it's more of a draw with that regard, where it's like, but at least he got The Rock back. Like, I'm just very happy that I think we'll see how it goes for the rest of the movies or movie. Maybe there's another Hobbs and Shaw in the works or something. Who knows? Maybe that's So like maybe we'll look back at this moment and be like, okay, maybe it means more. But at least right now, I think it kind of breaks even then, if thinking about all that too, because I forgot about that as well.
Okay. Well, let me read off the Vin Diesel performance ranking list, and we'll kind of see where we place it. Number 1, Triple X. Number 2, The Fast and the Furious. Number 3, Triple X Return of Xander Cage. Number 4, Fast and Furious. Number 5, Find Me Guilty. Number 6, Fast and Furious 6. Number 7, Riddick. Number 8, Furious 7. Number 9, A Man Apart. 10, Fast 5. 11, The Last Witch Hunter. 12, F9, The Fast Saga. 13, Bloodshot. 14, The Pacifier. 15, The Chronicles of Riddick. I lost my place. 16, Babylon AD. 17, Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. 18, Los Bandoleros. 19, The Fate of the Furious. 20, Guardians of the Galaxy. 22, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. 22, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. 23,
So
Boiler Room. 24, Multifacial. 25, Pitch Black. 26, Knockground Guys. 27, Strays. 28, The Chronicles of Riddick, Dark Fury. 29, The Iron Giant. 30, Saving Private Ryan. 31, Vin Diesel. 32, The Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift. 33, I Am Groot. 34, Fast and Furious Crossroads. 35, Avengers Infinity War. 36, The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. 37, The Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena. 38, Wheelman. 39, The Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. 40, Thor, Love and Thunder. 41, Ralph Breaks the Internet. 42, Avengers Endgame. 43, Riddick Blindsided. 44, Fast and Furious Supercharged. 45, Wiz Khalifa featuring Charlie Puth, See You Again. And 46, Awakenings. This time we had Thor, Love and Thunder down where it belongs.
So I think it's the part of it too is because it's like we were going into it being like generally hyped for it, or like excited for it, and it just came away being
Just
like,
a good movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Because again, I had this conversation with family because we put on the beginning of that movie while eating dinner, and I said, because no one had seen the movie but me, I said, this movie, we had this conversation a while back about something in the Sonic movie show, I think, where and I forget what we were even talking about, like what the thing was. Oh, it was for Sonic 2. We were reviewing Sonic 2, and I said, sometimes a movie comes out and it has a lot of jokes, a lot of funny bits and stuff, and then some of them reach the audience very well. like the beef between Tom and Maddie's sister in Sonic 1, right? People thought that was more funny than maybe they thought it was going to be in relation to everything else, right? There were
Yeah.
jokes in there. And so then they take those and they make sure it's a part of the sequel. They make it, they expand it more as if that was always like a characterization thing. And movies do that. Thor Love and Thunder did that with the previous movie. And my big thing that I feel like is the fatal flaw, the director's stand-in character that he voices gets more screen time, it feels like, than Christian Bale and Natalie Portman sometimes. And that's what I feel like was a fatal flaw in that movie. And, you know, they screwed over teenage Groot. He does say "I am Groot" in a nasty way, like he sees something gross.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, did
They
he
didn't
even
let him
say
cook.
"I am Groot" in that movie?
They didn't let him cook.
I don't really understand why people say that. I feel like "let him cook" it has too many different meanings and how people use it.
What do you mean? It just means like
I've heard it as a good
do
thing. I've
his
heard it as
thing.
a bad thing.
Do his thing.
I've heard it as that way. I've heard it as a bad thing. Like,
well, I think it'd be like
he's-
let him cook if he's like known for being stupid, like Elon Musk saying racist stuff on Twitter or hinting at racist.
I'm
stuff on
tired of him
Twitter.
cooking. He can't
Yeah,
cook.
like
He's bad at it.
they're like, yeah, let him cook his stupid shit that he normally cooks. So
Let him cook his stupid shit. Okay.
Speaking of cooking,
Okay.
what is Vin cooking here? Where are we ranking this?
So if we were just to talk about the Fast and Furious movies again, because it's an easy thing to rank, we have the first movie followed by the fourth movie followed by the sixth and seventh.
Yeah,
I still feel like the first movie, I don't think we can touch that movie. I feel like he's just on that level up there. With the fourth one, I can maybe see. I definitely think it's more than the sixth movie. Because
I
the
agree.
sixth one, well, I'm having trouble fully remembering it. It's more of what we already see, but it's just the fact that at the time, going from 1 through 5, he was a member of the team. It really felt like he was just a member of the team. He was the leader, but he was equal footing. Almost felt like Brian was maybe more of the protagonist in terms of he has personal stakes, right? We go on to 6, and 6 was more like 4, right? But not enough like 4. And I think 7 continued that. 8 is only low, like you mentioned, because of you know, the beef stuff and maybe his attitude on set. Because we would have easily put that over 4, I feel like. If we
easily.
were to ignore that.
If
right?
you ignore all of that, like to me, I'd put it all the way up to
Yeah.
second.
9.
maybe.
9 is less than that, but it's higher on the list because of the no beef watch shit. I feel like with Fast 10 or Fast X, I feel like this is in that category of being better than Fast and Furious in terms of Vin Diesel's performance. But I still don't think it can touch the first movie.
I mean,
What
he
about
does
you?
a good job with his kid, and that's an improvement from F9. I like his relationship with Letty. They show it more in this one. Like, I feel like they were not together on screen that much, but like they're more intimate, and that really wasn't the case in the other ones. Even the ones where, I guess not to be fair, when Letty comes back from the grave, and her memory isn't there. Like, I think that's the
That was
closest
all in
we've got.
6. Yeah.
But I feel like I guess I get it. It's based off the other films, but I feel like in this one, like the small amount of screen time they are together, it feels real, right? They feel like a team too, to a degree when they get to roam together. By the way, we never talked about it, but her on the motorcycle is badass. And I don't know what kind of
I'm glad
motorcycle it
that
is.
they-
I think it might be a Rebel, but I might be wrong. I've been getting into like motorcycles lately, like really like learning the different types. So I was trying to pay
Kojima's
attention to that.
favorite motorcycle brand is Triumph. The
That's
British
what
one.
my grandpa had back in the 90s. He had a 1972 Triumph Tiger. Might try to get one of those one day if I ever have money.
That would be cool.
Get
My
random
grandparents had
vehicles.
motorcycles. I think they
I
were
need a
Harleys.
garage first.
Yeah.
But
Then you can store your car when there's hail.
right. But yeah, and then I feel like he just has good scenes showing his emotions. I think it's definitely above 6, and like 4, it's kind of hard for me to remember. But like I think he did a great job of like being where Dom needed to be in that movie. But in this movie, it is mostly about Dom for the most part, and like his relationship with his son and keeping his promises, and I say put it above it. I don't know. This is just my guts telling me.
Okay.
Once again,
So
maybe
then-
by an inch. Maybe by an inch, but winning is winning.
So it's at least above Fast and Furious, aka the fourth movie.
Yeah.
And I still feel like it's below the first movie. I feel like we kind of just both agree on that. Triple X Return of Xander Cage is between these two movies.
I really love those movies, man. I love those movies. I still wish somehow we could have maybe rated the other ones on the movie ranking higher. And the reason I think the reason we like he's so high, and if you missed the other episodes in the past, the reason these movies are up there for us is because we went in these movies being like, okay, what are these going to be? And Vin shines very bright in the films. He's the reason the movies are as high as they are in the movie ranking list. And as you can see, compared to the like Guardians movies, for example, they're up there, but he's Groot in it, and some of those movies he only has 4 lines. So, I think looking at that, it's really tough for me to put it above Triple X.
Well, that's the second one from 2017, Return of Xander Cage, that is in contention here.
He fucking skateboards to turn on the electricity or whatever it was to get the soccer game on.
In this
Iconic
movie,
opening.
He fucking drives down the Hoover Dam to save his son.
I know. But
And
there's something about
fails.
a skateboard, dude. There's something about that skateboard opening scene, and his chemistry with like all the rest of the characters in that, including Samuel L. Jackson, is great. I don't know. I just really just have fun.
It's
like
a
I have no
fun
negatives
movie.
in this.
I get it.
He brings the fun. You know what I mean? Like he brings the fun in a different way in this movie, but he brings the fun in a cool skateboarder rad way. In this one, he's more action.
It's hard to really think
action
about
drama.
him in this movie without the legacy of the previous. And I know I've probably contradicted that line of thinking when talking about the movie ranking list. I definitely have. But it's hard for me to really isolate Dom from this movie as opposed to the others and how he presents himself. But still, I would like to just throw out there that the impact of what he's doing and how he performs in this movie, and he's an executive producer, and everything you talked about with him getting a new director, how much of that was on him, we don't know. I feel like a lot rides on this movie, and so he needs to bring his A game. We talked in previous episodes of the Chronicles of Diesel here. How much did he steal the show is a big part of it, because that means in our eyes he wasn't the main character, he was another character, and yet he still stole the show, and it feels that's how this whole franchise began, really,
Right.
because he stole the show, right?
Yeah.
And so in elements where he is the main guy and he is an executive producer, it's easy to have the opposite happen, where you're not able to keep enough of it going on for yourself in order to really maintain that top spot. And yet I still feel like he did a fantastic job in this movie. I still feel like, besides Jason Momoa as Dante,
I was going to say,
you know what I mean? There is one scene in this movie that I feel like did not go the way that I was expecting. And I say that because I was expecting our hero, Dominic Toretto, to have a moment of true fear. It's a fast-paced movie, and things are moving around very quickly, and things don't really get slow-mo. My brain is thinking while time slows down moments. But if they interjected that a little bit here, maybe with a flashback, to really give the weight to Dom's decision, I feel like I would have even given this movie more cred. The scene I'm talking about is when Dante basically is going to blow up 2 cars with 2 people, one he knows, one he doesn't know, but met. And still that you have to save people. And Jason Momoa's Dante says, who do you choose, who you save? He makes a decision very quickly. And maybe it was down on a technical reason of how he was able to save her more reliably than save the other guy. But still,
he was farther ahead too. So
right. But still, I mean, he stopped a freaking rolling bomb by jumping in. I feel like they could have just had him if they needed him to save him, they could have written a way in which he saves him. But still, he very quickly made that decision, and I don't feel like the movie gave that back in our face. So, if in that moment before he chose, there was more of a Vin Diesel self-recollection or self-reflection, if Dominic Toretto did that, rather, through either flashbacking, which then parallels what his inner thoughts are supposed to be at that moment, or a slowdown, him thinking to himself type of thing, I feel like that really would have elevated this, because I still don't think that the character really thought that through. Now, we can all be dumb and goofy and be like, they drove us safe through Rio, and they definitely at least injured some people, if not outright
Someone
killed
got a
many
broken
people.
leg.
Right,
Someone went
right,
to the
right,
hospital.
right. I know, fuck property damages and all that stuff, but like, people got injured, and there is no like, oh, we don't care, people die, we don't care. Like the Vatican had an explosion that didn't quite just kill too many people, but there was definitely a oh no. But there wasn't really that sit down and be like, are we cut out for, because it happens in some of these things. The freaking Avengers Civil War or Captain America Civil War was about that, right? Not necessarily saying this movie needs that, but it helps to have something like that.
I wish with the whole fear thing, like he tells his son that, and then he tells Letty later, like, oh, I'm afraid of losing you or him. And I wish there was like that moment where like halfway through the movie or wherever he grabs his son and be like, I know you're afraid, and like I am too. Like I wish there was that sense of like he's still like to his son, he tries to act, bigger. But to be fair, I guess like Dante like calls him out with the whole like Saint Dominic thing. Like if anything, that was one thing we didn't mention in our kind of talk about it, was there was that one scene where they're like, yeah, they defy, like this team defies gravity, and like does all, like they acknowledge that this is kind of crazy. And I go back to like they're actually gods, like they're the Greek gods without knowing it. Like they're my mythology. They can do things that normal men cannot. They can come back from the dead.
Yeah,
they have great battles against their enemies or each other sometimes.
They live in a world where they can always say everyone is safe with Brian because they don't want to touch that. So, Mia's just safe.
And they wherever they do fight, it destroys the mortals' homes, but they don't really care too much. In this movie, does Vin, our god, try to save people? Yes, but he doesn't save everybody. And he doesn't think about it too long, like you said. So,
I feel like I talked myself down from putting it above Triple X Return of Xander Cage, but I still think it's above Fast and Furious.
I think it'd be cool to put them both at 4. I mean, it's a good score on our overall ranking.
It's our new number 1 then.
See, there we go. Then we're satisfied. We can. I'm satisfied then with that, because then, yeah, new number 1 in the overall ranking. That makes it our new official like Chronicles of Diesel. Like, hey, if you're gonna watch one Vin Diesel movie and you don't know anything about Vin Diesel, but you also want to watch a great movie just generally, I guess F9 is it. Followed by Triple X, which I also agree with.
Wow.
But and you were talking about earlier, like we started this show because of like these movies, So there you go. It's number 1.
Yeah, and now technically the points on the overall are all changed by 1 or 2, but they still maintain their same overall positions within each other. None of them hop around. Although we did make a mistake, I guess, before, and I accidentally added 10 to one of them, to the Iron Giant. Or I didn't add 10 to it or something like that, so whatever. But yeah, our overall best Vin Diesel movie, your best bang for your buck, if you want to watch a Vin Diesel movie, is Fast X. Wow.
And then we have a triple X under it. So many X's.
Yep. Exactly. Wow.
Oh, shit.
Well,
hell yeah.
This was a fun episode of the Chronicles of Diesel. Hey,
I hope this episode was as good and when it was hype as Fast X was for people. Like, I hope this is your Infinity War of the Chronicles of Diesel.
This is your mythology, so it better. Honestly, like the way people treat like the Marvel movie stuff is how this franchise always deserved to be treated. You know what I mean? So Just throwing that out there.
Dom. Zeus is Dom.
Yeah. And he's also Hercules. And he's also like 7 other people. You played
He
Hades,
does pick
sure,
up
he's
the
Zagreus
car.
as well.
He does pick up the car with one arm.
So can
That
a
won't-
mother trying to save her child. That happens in real life. So
Built different.
cars
yeah.
aren't that heavy to just tilt. You know what I mean? It's not like he's deadlifting it.
All right, I want to see a
He's just
video of you
tilting.
tilting your car tomorrow.
I don't want to hurt my car, but I could do
Oh,
it. If a car was sideways and I needed to push it over, I could do that.
You think?
Yes,
I don't think I could.
bet. We're gonna go to
You're
a
bet that I
junkyard.
can do it. You're like, you believe in it?
I believe in you. Yes, I believe in you.
Not my SUV. Maybe your car. I'd have to ever shop. I don't know about
Oh,
my
it was a
SUV.
car in the movie. I'm wrapping up here. Folks, you watched this entire episode of the Chronicles of Diesel. You enjoyed every minute of it. You're going to enjoy more because if this was your first episode, you're going to go on youtube.com/@SonicMovieShow and you're going to watch all of the other ones. Maybe you'll find contradictions in our line of thinking, but hey, we're a living and growing podcast. You almost laughed there while drinking. Our thoughts and experience change over the years. This is the end of the 3 years of us doing this podcast. More episodes will happen in the future as Vin Diesel stuff happens. In the meantime, we have the Sonic Movie Show, which is on the exact same channel, exact same podcast feed as the one you're already listening on. So if you want to see our movie reviews on there, we do video game movie reviews on the Sonic Movie Show, as well as Sonic News, movie news, and Sonic Movie News. So give us a watch and a listen. Like, subscribe, type in comments. Like us on Twitter at Sonic Movie Show, at Ethan Absolutely, and at Cursona Fun. We're on TikTok. You've probably seen some YouTube shorts. TikTok, I hear, is a more fun way to watch them.
It's banned in Montana, or is going to be banned. So download the app now.
Great. We're also on Instagram. It's more of the same stuff there. But yeah, we'll see you next time for another episode of the Chronicles of Diesel in a year.
Return
But we'll
of
do
Xander
special
Cage.
episodes.
Yeah, find
Return
me.
of-
Oh, I was adding subtitles. Infinity
Sure.
War. Long
Saving
halftime walk.
Saving a Fate Man Bloodshot. Have a fantastic day.
What is it with you? What do you got, a death wish or something?
That's what it takes. I just want to race. Ride or die, remember?